When you're going through that spiral of like, all right, I can't sit with myself because I have to just do, you risk this lack of presence with yourself. And not only that, your creativity suffers. It seems like you're on this, survival spiral of just, I've got to go to no end, and something will bust. Whether it's your health, relationships, mindset. I mean, burnout is the biggest thing. That's why we have the overwhelm, the anxiety, all of these things. If we don't allow the spaciousness to come home to ourselves.
We are Gold Ivy.
Our mission is to empower you to own and unleash your truth.
Stories of resiliency are gold, and ivy grows in hard places.
Those hard places are what create space for light to shine through.
You decide what works for your daily life and how to transform our lessons into your gold.
This is Ivy Unleashed,
a Gold Ivy production.
We're coming at you with important information, warnings, and a solution. Sharing health and wellness gold with you is what we do. And so when we learned alarming information about devices that we routinely use, and we know you do too, we have to share it with you.
What most people don't realize is that the electronic devices we're using, cell phones, Wi-Fi, laptops, and Bluetooth, emit electromagnetic fields, or EMFs. The devices we're holding by our brains, on our skin, by our reproductive parts are emitting EMFs, and prolonged exposure to EMF radiation has been associated with potential health concerns, including neurological effects, impacts on reproductive health, and sleep disturbances.
Those studies alone are a cause for pause. But also, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, that operates under the World Health Organization, has classified non-ionizing EMFs produced by electronic products like cell phones, smart devices, and tablets a possible human carcinogen. Yikes.
And our solution? SafeSleeve. SafeSleeve anti-radiation products are designed to give you peace of mind of knowing you and your devices are protected while making your devices even easier to use. All of their anti-radiation products incorporate their lab-tested shielding technology that can block over 99% of RF and 92% of ELF radiation. And that's important because the vast majority of products that claim to block EMF radiation either don't have any testing at all, or they only block a small portion of the harmful frequencies.
We absolutely love the sleek look of these stylish products. They come in a variety of styles and colors. For our phone cases, I picked black, Andrea picked tan, and they include a built-in wallet with RFID protection and a magnetically detachable inner case. They're also anti-radiation products for tablets, iPad, and laptops.
We are pumped because we have been looking for a brand to help protect ourselves and our loved ones from this radiation for months. My kiddos have the iPad cases. Searching for a brand with stylish phone cases, colorful iPad colors, and functional headphones for our workouts so that we can enjoy our devices but also not have to worry about how they're harming us.
And without a doubt, it's time to protect ourselves. Grab your SafeSleeve phone case today and any of their other groundbreaking products at safesleevecases.com and use our code GOLDIVY for 15% off. Keeping the flu and common cold out of your household is important whether you're 5, 35, or 95, and we're going to tell you the easiest and most delicious way to do just that. It's with All Things Elderberry, a woman-owned business that has all-natural, vegan-friendly, and gluten-free elderberry products.
And when we say products, we mean a variety of delicious and beautiful products, not just for you, but for your entire household to get an immunity boost. If we had to pick our favorite product, I'm going with organic elderberry gummies. My kids are obsessed. We're trying to avoid sickness from school and make sure they can participate in their sports, so they take one every morning before they brush their teeth. They think the gummies taste like a mix of grape and cotton candy. I tried them too, and I can see why they ask for them every day. I love that they're boosting their immune system at the start of their day.
My favorite All Things Elderberry product is the elderberry green tea paired with the elderberry honey. The green tea gives me a midday boost, and the honey gives the tea extra sweetness. I also put the honey in my morning coffee instead of creamer. So good. All Things Elderberry is my solution for staying healthy before traveling, avoiding frequent colds and sinus infections, really just maintaining my health all year round.
What sets this brand apart from the others is there are no artificial additives in All Things Elderberry. Their elixir is made with organic, Missouri-grown elderberries, raw honey, and whole spices.
Elderberries not only help with immune support, but may also slow the aging process with their powerful antioxidants, improve skin health, and can shorten the duration of severity of colds and flu.
Visit allthingselderberry.com to explore their full range of immune-supporting products. Stay healthy and feel your best naturally. Use our code GOLDIVY at checkout for 15% off your first order. That's code GOLDIVY at checkout for 15% off your first order. And now to this episode of the Ivy Unleashed podcast. Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. We are so happy today. We have a returning guest. We have Neeta Bhushan back. Welcome to Ivy Unleashed.
Oh my gosh, you girls, it's been a while. I'm so excited to be back. It's time to jam on some fun things.
Yes. I mean, we could talk to you about anything. So Neeta is the author of That Sucked, Now What? We went in an in-depth conversation about this that was so moving, so emotional. It was episode 140. And Neeta was one of our favorite guests because she is so vulnerable and open and honest, and then took everything she went through and really talked through how she got through that. And that is what resonates the most with our listeners, is really sharing those stories, but how you didn't stay stuck, right? How you moved through it and giving tangible tips. In your book, we circle back to it all the time, that it's just, it gives you almost a route through it, because sometimes it feels so overwhelming. And so if you have not listened to episode 140, please go back and do that and read Neeta's book. It's so beautiful. But today what we're going to talk about is something Brooke and I know this is going to just blow our mind and your mind too. We are going to talk about masculine and feminine energy. The toxic traits of feminine energy sometimes, the stereotypes, kind of how it plays into our day-to-day. And this is the perfect person to talk us through this. So thank you, Neeta, for being back. And let's dive into it. So thinking about masculine and feminine energy, if people have no idea what we're talking about, can you just kind of explain the difference and kind of the stereotypes and how it plays into our daily lives?
Well, I mean, we can just think about it in our just, our go, right? The go is our masculine. Mm-hmm. The let's get it done. We've got to be on time, like the deadlines, the to-dos. It's very much this like powerful, take charge, energy. We are actually we're basically, in this kind of mindset to achieve, provide, do. And that's why when people kind of say, I'm in the masculine, it doesn't really matter, gender per se, but it's more so, okay, the doing, right? And then when we talk about feminine or feminine traits or feminine characteristics, it's kind of, the gentle, the being, if I have to actually just sum it up to one word, the receiving, right? The masculine is like the giving, the powerful, but the feminine is more so, it's the artistic, it's the creative, it's the, being the, almost like this gentleness, right? And so, some people even think about it as the feminine being, quiet and the masculine being loud. But I would mostly equate it to, if somebody's just like coming across this for the very first time, is the more masculine is the doing part, and then and the giving and the providing, and the feminine is more so the creative, the the present, the being, and the receiving, which we in typical society, as women, we don't really give ourselves that opportunity to receive. In fact, it's even really tough to be the receiving end, right? Especially when we are, when we're going through something tough, I noticed this so much just personally this past year, even for myself, as somebody who talks about this too. It's like, oh no, I'll do this for you. I'll go the extra mile. Oh no, I don't need anything. Somebody's like, oh, you're going through stuff, and they're like, oh, but I just want to be there for you. What can I get for you? Or is there anything you need? No, I'm all good. And we all say this, right? No, I'm all good. But what if we actually start practicing the art of receiving, because that is one of the gateways to really allowing ourselves to, everyone's talking about the soft era, it's another way for that feminine to come out. Because if we are allowing ourselves to play and to be and to, create, that truly is the essence of the feminine.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think as women it is so hard to receive and to just be?
Yeah, I think, well, it has a lot to do with our worthiness, right? I mean, this goes back to how are we actually trained, right? I mean, if we think about it, if, your storyline growing up or the perception growing up and, was, well, I have to perform, I have to be visible in order to even get accepted, then what are we going to do, right? If I got validation from my family, my parents, my family of origin, just by getting the straight A's or getting the acknowledgement, the awards, the accolades, all of those things, that's a very masculine thing to do. Yet society has kind of praised us all for it, right? And so we only then learn later on to kind of undo those things and to say, hey, actually, I'm okay to receive help, because receiving can be also thought as a form of weakness in many cultures, right? And so this act of receiving is kind of foreign to a lot of people. We don't know how to receive. We don't know how to even be in the feminine, to be in the just, I'm going to be still, and not like I'm going to wait on a mountaintop for something to happen. No, it's more so, actually, I'm going to see what happens, because I have this incredible aura, magnetism, energy around me that I actually attract amazing things in not just the doing, but also just being who I am.
I think that's so tricky for me to get more into the feminine, because I feel like the masculine is like a protective mechanism, right? It's like you said, it's the way that you got love. It's the way that you got attention. It's the way that you felt significant or kept up with the boys. I had two older brothers and
Sure.
I was into sports. So it's like the doing and the achieving and the getting and the going hard and the grinding. For me, it really created a lot of like what I would say felt like success or felt like happiness or joy, but when I strip it down, it's like, that's all validation from external sources. And so that's where I see it's really tricky, because if you want to feel safe and you want to feel like you're successful, it would be a very masculine approach to that. So I like what you're saying about the vibe and like that aura and like attracting things in the feminine. And I think that's kind of like the shifting and transitioning from being able to let that vibe and aura create a new version of success. So how do you kind of transition and allow yourself to feel safe in the feminine when for so long the masculine has been like your route for that?
It is hard, because I feel like even in motherhood, right? That it is very masculine, and there are a lot of those traits that are like, have to provide for my kids, like just the mama bear, right? That mama bear. If you think about it, even in relationships and polarity, why are we attracted to our partner? Because we have that polarity. We have that masculine and feminine dynamic, right? What happens when, and this is kind of just a side tangent, but you think about it, right? Like, if we lose that polarity because both people are kind of the providing, the doing, then there isn't going to be this like beautiful dance of the feminine and the masculine. And even in, Chinese medicine, it's the yin and the yang, right? The yin is the more soft, the gentle, the playful, the emotionally expressive. She has, they have no container to fully express, whereas the yang is very directed, focused, doing, achieving, getting it done, and lots of action, right? And so when we've been in our feminine, in our masculine, for so long, and this is kind of, so many women that I talk to just on the daily, we are going to have this struggle. We are going to have this inter struggle. And I feel like it starts with just are you being even just playful with yourself? I'm not even talking about your kids, just even with you. When was the last time like you danced or you sang that, you didn't care about what anybody was thinking? You played something maybe in the shower and you're just like belting out. But notice what happens literally to your body when you're actually doing that. You're less in a rush. You're kind of more expressive. Everyone around you feels it. They're like, "Whoa, what's happening?" Or you kind of go to this like networking event or maybe a friend's house and you're like, "Wait, who's that person over there?" That you're just like, "Holy cow." It doesn't matter the way she's looking but it's just the way she's being. It allows you to feel safe. It allows you to actually maybe even open up to that person. I don't know how many times like I've been to a place and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like you're like my long lost sister." And they just give you that space to just fully be. There's no judgment. Like, can we actually have that and create that for ourselves? And we actually can. But it starts with these like micro moments of play and being soft and allowing yourself to do nothing. Allowing yourself, if a friend's like, "Hey, I want to take you out." No, it's okay. No, actually say yes. Like practice the art of receiving. If somebody's saying, "Hey, love, I know you're having a crazy week. Is there anything I can drop off for the kids?" Actually, yeah, thank you so much for even offering that. I would love that. Most of us are trained. No. I'm okay. I will suffer in silence. I'm okay. And I know so many girlfriends who are either going through breakups or divorces, and they do or they've lost somebody and they kind of isolate and they just kind of, they cocoon because it's so hard to receive, or receiving is an act of like, I don't want to be a burden. But that is the beautiful art of, the feminine. Now we can talk about ways where it can be toxic. And which is, we can go into that later, but just to even think about just in your day, how often are you kind of in that driver's seat, the masculine? And I know we all have so many things that we have to get done, and I get it. And, we have that masculine hat, but can we actually, is there a point where we can actually unplug and be more in our feminine? Maybe it's just making a cup of tea, the art of like slowing down, having a slow morning and putting, just having things that make you feel comfortable, like those PJs or, the comfy socks. But these are all ways of really allowing her, she to show up where she doesn't have to do.
Yeah.
She can just be. And from that place, that is the power of creation, because that's where new ideas are birthed. That's where we can have babies. That's where we can, the next iteration of who we're becoming, my greatest ideas have come from, and I don't know about you guys, but literally doing nothing.
Let's talk about that, because I think as women, as entrepreneurs, we think, okay, I got to be working all the time. There's always things to do. It's not going to get done if I'm not grinding and striving for more. And I can totally relate. It's in those moments when I release, when I let go, that I have the idea. I'm having fun with what I'm doing. So how do you trust that? And can you talk about why that is?
Yeah, so it brings me back to I did this thing. It was like a milestone that I wanted to do for the longest time, probably like in a decade. But I did this TED Talk, and it was at TEDx Women in the Philippines. So not only was it a full circle moment because my mom is from there, and the last time I'd gone was when my grandmother was passing. And so I hadn't been in, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years. And the quote that I shared, because it was basically about, the talk was about, where are we going? What are we doing? Like all running somewhere. But basically, we're sicker, lonelier, fatter than ever. And I don't know, where are we going? Basically. But, if we actually look back into some of the greatest minds, okay, and while Seneca, he said, he who is everywhere is nowhere, right? And so going back into some of these like sages and philosophers back when they actually prioritize time for just being bored. And we can even see, like, Albert Einstein, he credited his biggest work, and I share this also in the talk. He created his biggest works to time just wandering outside. That's a very feminine thing, wandering outside, like seeing, nature, and just like in his long walks, that's when he would get some of his most profound ideas, which is what he would later credit, some of his biggest successes to. So why is it that and you can, he's just one example. There's tons of other examples, and we know this because we've probably heard it as well, but we don't give ourselves permission to slow down because it is the anxiety. And I'm also, I'm guilty of this as well. It's like, I know this too. And why is it so hard? Well, it's because it's the unlearning. It's the pattern that we're like just wired to do more. And or what is your relationship with the opposite? I also want to invite that in because, and I know this has been personally, this was a very hard one for me, but even just like going back into the threads of spending time with the little Neeta at 9 or at 8 who just loved to draw and paint. I see my daughter now, and she's, a little artist. She actually put up her artwork to show us that she was having an art installation. And I was like, man, I remember doing that. Wow. Like, okay, she's just fully in her full expressiveness. And when did that get toned down? When did we stop playing? When did life get so, that we needed to do all these things? And I think, what do we equate slowing down with? Is there an identity attachment to it? Of course. You just said when we first opened that a lot of times we are equated with our identity of doing, producing, overdoing, overcompensating for what? Because this is the way that we get loved? Or were we told you're lazy if you're just sitting on the couch? I know I was told that. So it's like, okay, I'm going to not ever stop. I'm going to always be working on something because my mind has been ingrained to think that slowing down or even stopping or pausing is related to some identity that I've had in the past. And I feel like a lot of it is unlearning. Can you love yourself even when you're slowing down? Can you love yourself and find worth in yourself? I'm worthy of earning rest. I'm worthy of resting. I don't need to justify it for anybody. I'm worthy of resting. So I think it comes back to your core belief about yourself and perhaps maybe even some of the stories that we still carry. That's like the first part, because we can try to do all these things, but there is going to be this resistance that a lot of us carry just because, well, if we don't do that inner work first of, well, who is that little girl that was resting? Well, she was told that she needed to go clean her room, go take care of her brothers, go do the next thing, go prep. She wasn't allowed because she needed to support.
Yeah. When you're sitting though, when you do rest, like you're forced to be with yourself. And if you have such low self-esteem or self-worth issues, it's really uncomfortable and people don't know how to do it. It's almost like if you've never done therapy, you've never really been that great at expressing feelings, or you grew up in a family where that was just not what you did. You just did stuff and you got stuff done. It's like the only way.
Physical.
Yes. It's like the only way
you're like
people
raking
know.
the lawn, or you're, because it gave you some purpose.
Yeah. And there's almost like, I think, a lack of emotional intelligence in some families, right? Because it's just been generations of families not knowing how to do this. And so I don't want people to feel bad if you don't know how to sit with yourself, or there's so much to unpack that it almost feels overwhelming, right? To be like, oh my gosh, what did my 9-year-old self think? I don't know.
And I think if you struggle to sit still, that tells you that this work is your next move. I even think, and I feel this so deeply on the weekends, it's like it takes me all day Saturday to like be okay with resting. That then comes Sunday, I'm like, ooh, this is great. I feel good. And then come Monday, we're like, oh, okay. It's but I'm feeling each week now that I've put some boundaries around time and rest and weekends that I'm able to tap into that feminine energy a little quicker. And I started small. And I notice how good it feels for my nervous system to take a beat. And I'm so tuned into when I sit, okay, let me quick check the email, or it's so automatic of what's on the to-do list, what's next, like that urgency. And I think about how much it's related to my health, physical and mental. So can we talk about that, of what happens if we don't spend a little more time in the feminine energy? What are some of the downfalls of that?
Let's talk about something foundational to your family's health that you might not even realize is an issue: your cookware and bakeware.
That's right. We've all heard about clean eating, but what about clean cooking? For years, we've been told nonstick is the way to go for easy cleanup, but what if that convenience comes at a cost to your health?
Exactly. Our friends at Caraway have an origin story that really hit home for us. Their founder, Jordan Nathan, experienced what's called Teflon flu after accidentally overheating a traditional nonstick pan. It turns out it only takes 2.5 minutes for those pans to hit 500 degrees Fahrenheit and start releasing toxic chemicals.
And the problem is, these aren't just any chemicals. We're talking about PTFE, also known as Teflon, and microplastics that can leach directly into your food that you're preparing for your family.
These are forever chemicals, folks. They enter the body and can take decades to leave, potentially leading to serious health risks like cancer or respiratory issues. Reading the research from the American Cancer Society and Good Housekeeping Institute was a wake-up call to realize what might be hiding in our kitchens.
And that's where Caraway comes in. They're on a mission to craft well-designed home goods that truly raise the standards of what you cook with. They've meticulously thought through every single detail, from the unboxing experience to how their products store in your home. The look, the feel. We're in a season where less is more. It's better for your health. It's better to look at. You've seen Caraway everywhere, and it's for a reason.
I went with the squareware and cookware set. Not only is it beautiful, but the relief I feel knowing the daily pancakes, pasta, and protein I'm heating up isn't causing harm to my kiddos is priceless.
Caraway has revolutionized kitchenware by offering a non-stick ceramic coating that's mineral-based. That means no toxic materials leaching into your healthy ingredients. It's easy to use, easy to clean, and you don't have to worry about those forever chemicals.
So if you're ready to remove harmful microplastics and toxic chemicals from your family's meals and truly elevate your cooking experience, it's time to switch to Caraway.
Head over to their website today. You can find the link in our show notes. And for a special thank you to our listeners, use code GOLDIVY at checkout for 10% off your Caraway products. Make the switch for a healthier you and a healthier home.
Who wants to know what I discovered that's an absolute game changer with my hormones, stress level, and quality of my sleep? I am not one to talk about supplements, but after learning all about magnesium, I have to fill you in. In May of last year, I tested my hormones and my doctor explained to me that most women are deficient in magnesium, how important magnesium is, and how the brand of magnesium matters. First, magnesium is involved in hundreds of biochemical reactions in your body. Cortisol regulation, take magnesium. Better sleep, magnesium. Muscle soreness and recovery, magnesium. Combat depression and anxiety, magnesium. The list of magnesium's benefits go well beyond those examples. I asked for the best brand of magnesium and my doctor said hands down, Smidge. She prefers Smidge because it's super clean and made in small batches. No fillers or common allergens, and non-GMO. Smidge's magnesium is made with a premium form of magnesium called glycinate complex. After taking the 100 milligram capsule of Smidge Evening Magnesium every night for just a week, I noticed how much better I felt in the morning. Melatonin and other sleep aids can make me groggy or give me weird dreams. Smidge's magnesium has improved my energy levels, reduced my anxiety, and my digestive health has never been better. I do my best to take it every single night to keep reaping all the benefits. I'm telling you, Smidge Magnesium is a game changer. The majority of adult women are deficient in magnesium, and we don't want you to be one of them. To experience the health benefits of Smidge Evening Magnesium as soon as possible, go to getsmidge.com or find the link in the show notes and be sure to use code GOLDIVY10 for a 10% discount. That's getsmidge.com and code GOLDIVY10 at checkout and let us know how great Smidge Magnesium makes you feel as well.
Well, if we don't give ourselves permission to pause, or if we don't give ourselves permission to rest, I mean, you are looking at cycles of burnout, and even, just from withdrawal of just yourself. you know, irritation and being irate and angry and resentful and, you know, from, you know, judging yourself to judging others, you just become, you know, this person that's just on this hamster wheel ready to just, you know, something's going to erupt. There will be a rupture within yourself at the expense of your relationships, at the expense of people around you, maybe your littles. You will create this ripple effect. You know how we can create a ripple effect of like this amazing aura and energy? We can create this same ripple effect of like, oh, okay, what is going on? You know, where people can sense it. You can probably even sense it when you're going through that spiral of like, all right, I can't sit with myself because I have to just do. You risk this, you know, lack of presence with yourself. And not only that, your creativity suffers. It seems like you're on this, you know, survival spiral of just, I've got to go to no end and something will bust. You know, whether it's your health, relationships, mindset. I mean, burnout is the biggest thing. That's why we have the overwhelm, the anxiety, all of these things. If we don't allow the spaciousness to come home to ourselves. And when I say come home to ourselves, it really is giving you permission to just sit, just to pause. And it's why, you know, I'm such a big fan of really tuning into your nervous system and giving her or the younger version of ourselves, because a lot of times we are playing out patterns and patterns and patterns from childhood, you know, and then we'll meet another person that kind of triggers that or brings that up to the surface for us to give ourselves a chance to clear that, to clear, oh, okay, it's another reminder to remind myself, okay, if this person's doing me wrong or whatever, I still choose me. I still love myself. You are still okay. You know, with every rejection that happens, you're still choosing you. That, you know, nothing's wrong with you. You are not broken. You're still whole. And it's going to be okay, right? Every opportunity, every kind of relationship or situation that we have encountered, it's only to help us learn more about loving ourselves at the very, very core, and to kind of maybe even unearth certain patterns or break certain patterns that we've been so accustomed to.
Yeah, I like what you said too, because I feel like the starting point is the pause. Like changing patterns and unearthing things, that to me feels like a lot of heavy lifting, and probably a therapist is or a coach is involved in this, and that's great.
Totally, yes, yeah.
And we want you all to get there, and I'm constantly always trying to get there too. Of what, like, it's life is all unearthing and unlearning, like you're saying. But when you're talking about pausing, or you're talking about taking a moment for that tea, or like the slowing down just the tiniest bit, like that feels graspable. That feels like a good starting point, because there's so many situations as you're talking, I'm thinking about, like, you have this pattern of how you always react to things, or you have this pattern of how you start your day, or you have this pattern of how you take care of yourself and you rush through your getting ready or whatever. And it's just like pausing for a second, like, is this the way I want to do things? Or pause before you react, or pause before you jump into your day. And I think that's so powerful, because at that point it can be asking yourself a question, or trying something new, or just thinking, or taking a different approach. And so I love that you keep going with that pause, because I think that's so powerful.
Well, yeah, to add to that, absolutely. I think that's so one of the reasons why, if we look at, you know, different cultures in Ayurveda, we have chai, and, you know, chai has been for thousands of years just a way for us to connect, not only connect with ourselves, but to connect with others. And, you know, it's not even, we drink these like big cups of coffee. With chai, it's just like a tiny little cup. And we're crushing the herbs, and we're crushing, you know, the cardamom and the ginger and, you know, all of these other benefits. But that is the act of nourishing ourselves. Even in Chinese and Japanese cultures, there is the art of the tea ceremony. And in the tea ceremony, you are literally taking a break from your day to literally pour into your cup. And I don't know if you've ever been to a Japanese tea house, but literally you're sitting on the floor And, first it's waiting for the tea, whether it's green tea, white tea, black tea, to sit and steep. So it's a whole process. But in that, then you're kind of having reverence to this cup. And then when you're pouring it, there is a certain art of the pour. And it's almost this like meditative, you're giving back to yourself in a way. And then as you're taking, the sip of that first sip of tea, you're kind of just almost like saying a prayer to yourself of, okay, I'm here now. This is for me. But all of this is a practice of stillness, which, in a lot of these cultures, they already have embedded. But what if we can start doing that in our day? I mean, I have mine right here, right now. You guys know how much I love chai. And
Man, you're making me want to become a tea girly. Like, duh.
Well, there you go. I mean, for the coffee lovers too, the art of literally taking that pause, going into, I know a lot of people love like the what is it? The drips. I don't even know the lingo, but like even just making a cup of espresso, turning it on, grinding the coffee beans, taking that aroma in, smelling it. And I know for some people, it's just like, it brings you back. But just the art of even making yourself a cup of coffee, some of you might think of it as this ritual. And that's why I love ritual so much versus habits, because if you make it a ritual, then it is sacred. And this can be that time for you. Even my dance party that I have with my kids, now they're old enough to like pick a song, and they can all have DJ rights and pick a song in the morning that they want to dance to. But then when it's mom's turn, I'm like, okay, this song is for me, and to reclaim that as a ritual, as a sacred time for you. Yes, you're getting your kids involved, but like if you pick that one song, like to get you going, or even in the car when you're driving, it just resets you. That's the pause. Because how much more clearer are you after that? How much more if you get a bad email or a bad text from a friend, or hear something crazy on the news, or scroll and you see something that is just not in your control, how much more regulated are you to deal with the stressors of the day? I think tons more, because you've just poured your cup.
Yeah, I love that idea of rituals. And when you say that word, I think everyone listening, something comes to mind, even if it's as simple as a pause. Starting to have a ritual around that pause, whether it's gratitude in the morning, right when you wake up, or with a song, or your workout, that little moment where you can just take a breath and calm your nervous system to just be, like to start being okay with just being. And going back to that trust, I think the more you do it, the more you trust, okay, the world isn't going to shatter around me. I'm going to be okay. And this feels really good. At the end of the day, how do you want to live? Do you want to live in that urgent state, or do you want to start to calm that nervous system?
Yeah. And I like ritual more feels like romanticizing your life rather than this is a habit and I need to follow through. I need to check off the box. It feels more like, oh, this is a ritual. This is a tradition in our family now. We have dance parties. We pause the go to just like be playful. I love that. I want to talk a little bit more though about feminine, masculine in a relationship, because I just personally am thinking about my own and how I know I am masculine energy way more than I need to be. And this is something I think I've really been wanting to talk to you about this, because I know I need to work on it. And I'm curious how that plays into a marriage, a relationship where you're both so much masculine energy that the feminine is hardly getting in there. Like, how can that negatively impact a relationship, and how can you kind of shift that in between the two of you?
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, there's so much that can happen if both parties are literally, both masculine. I mean, you will be pushing your partner away. I remember, this is, this goes into so much into polarity, right? Because the yin and the yang, why do they fit together? There is this polarity in that. And that's why when they come together, it's like you have this beautiful, perfect circle. Same thing, if you are in a container, a safe relationship environment where, and I get it, we get it. There's so much that has to be done. And both of you, are entrepreneurs, or, one is taking care of the family, which is still, that mothering is very masculine. Okay. And so is there a time where it shuts off? And I know, just practicing this with my husband across the years of understanding how important polarity is in a relationship, because oftentimes the biggest thing that will go when you have a rupture in your relationship is that polarity, is that dance of the masculine and the feminine. And that's why, even for those who actually work together, and my husband and I have worked together in various many, different businesses. So we have a hard and fast rule, after 5 p.m., not, we switch roles. I even call him a different name, and you all can utilize this. But I even call him a different name during the day, as opposed to when we're at home with the kids, as opposed to when it's he and I, date night or in the bedroom, right? And I think that's so important, because then, like you have the different roles, and it's kind of a little bit like role play. And, if you're game, I would try it. But here's what happens if both people are in the masculine. Well, where is the attraction? That's the biggest thing. That's what I'm talking about in polarity. The attraction goes, and then, well, what tends to happen in your relationship? Do you then turn to ships passing at night? Are we waiting for the other to engage? How are you in conflict? How are you in repair? How does that work out? So there's so many things that come into play. And I think in terms of, if we're both in the doing, if we're both in the structure, if we're both in the discipline, this is very masculine, like yang energy, right? If we're both in the logical or protective or getting things done, right? You're just thinking about all these things. If you're listening to me like rat out all of these characteristics, you're like, yeah, I wouldn't be attracted to this either, because that doesn't seem, a way to be in relationship. Versus, the being, the flow, the receiving, the receivership. When we are fully in our feminine, we just know, we have this inner knowing. Our intuition is heightened. We have a greater sense of creativity. You have this greater softness, where then basically our container in a relationship, the masculine can really allow the feminine to fully express, because that's the beauty of it. Another big trait of the feminine is, I spoke about this earlier, but like that magnetism and what you're drawing to you, and how you're just being. And, everyone's coming around and saying, oh my gosh, you just did something. Was it your hair? Was it your nails? Like your partner's coming to you and is like, did you get a new fragrance? Did you get your hair done? No, I'm just, because you're in that softer presence. And so it allows the masculine in this container to have this polarity. And it is very attractive, right? Because again, the yin and the yang, and there is this, wisdom. You have this emotional, more of this emotional attunement to what then the other's needs are, instead of just thinking, okay, me, I got to get here, there, everywhere. That's more very masculine. Whereas the feminine, it is not only the expression, but just the attunement to your partner. So there's a lot of things in this healthy dynamic that can happen. And we all have it. It's not, it's not gender specific. And some of us can actually have it where and this is not wrong at all, but we can switch roles sometimes. Sometimes, our partners, we could be more masculine and they could be more feminine. But then it switches, maybe in the bedroom, and if you haven't tried this, you can be more in the feminine side and invite the masculine, if you will. And that's why, polarity then becomes really, really important to cultivate and to practice.
Oh, I love everything you're saying. I keep thinking about how tricky that is when you have 3 kids, because I'm like, okay, we're not even man on man. We have to be like, I'm thinking of all the parents out there where it's like, And for me, a big value of mine is like fairness, where like we're both doing the same amount. Like I don't want to be carrying the team. And like if my husband, which I feel like he's going to hate that I'm saying this, but he's really good at being in the feminine. He's really good at receiving, relaxing, being, booking the vacation.
That's a lot of guys. Yeah. That's the
Yeah. And I'm like, what are you're relaxing too much. Like, why are you, and I feel like I'm probably more masculine in that if I'm doing, I want him to be doing. And if I'm relaxing, I want him relaxing with me. And so I'm seeing like, okay, this is something I got to work on, like allowing him to like veg and chill if he wants to, because then I'll do the dishes then. And like we could take turns. But I think when you have kids, there's so much, it does sometimes become the partnership, and it's not a whole sexy thing. It's like literally trying to keep these things alive and get them to their stuff. And so I want to relax more, and I want to have more fun and be more playful. And I do think we find ways to do that, but I just want to acknowledge how challenging that is when you're in the thick of things, like you said, got to get done. And I just think it's tricky.
Oh my gosh. No, it's so tricky. It's so tricky. I don't want to invalidate any of that, because sometimes it is kind of this fantasy of like, ooh, I'm just going to whisk out of my, and in the sexiest dress that I have and just like be playful all day. That's not going to happen most of the time. However, just like we were talking about rituals for ourselves, can we have rituals where it's okay, past 8 p.m., no phones, no digital devices.
And your name is Daddy now. No.
We laugh. But hey, it's true. I promise you, whoever is going to try this out tonight
might use that word.
I want you guys to comment and tag us. How did it work out for you? How did it work out?
Yeah.
And was your partner like, whoa, what just happened?
Oh, he'd love it. He'd be like, what did you just call me?
It'll be Andrea commenting. Keep an eye out for it.
I'll try anything, man. I mean, you got to keep it alive, and it just
keep it alive.
It's so valuable what you're saying. Like you can find little ways. I think it's using some of these ideas that you're sharing are really helpful.
Yes, because I think in the mundane, the everyday, it is hard. Mm-hmm. It is hard. You've got one kid sick, you've got another that's not, in the era of not listening, and then the other is just trying to figure out what they want to do. And then, got to hold the entire container. It is tough. Is it impossible to create that dynamic with your partner? No, it's not. But there's got to be, agreements and kind of like discussions and perhaps maybe pre-planning a little bit of how, we can navigate this as co-creators in this. Because, yeah, I'm sure our partners, I'm sure even my partner will want me for sure to be more feminine throughout the day, But now we've actually incorporated a 15-minute check-in, literally, every day, where it's like, okay, no, and it's on the calendar, so it's there. And sometimes we do have to take other meetings, but you guys, since we added this check-in every day in the middle of the day, and it's like, that 80-20 rule where 80% of the time it gets done, and then it just becomes a thing. So this is our check-in, and it doesn't matter. Doesn't mean that we're like in the same space most of the time. Now we're really not, and now we're traveling right now. So, but we'll check in, we'll do a FaceTime and like not talk about kids, not just like, how are you feeling? What do you need? What is it? Just like 15-minute check-in. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, but again, it's the art. It's the art. And sometimes it doesn't happen. And am I going to beat anybody up for it? No. But it's the intention that's there. And then it becomes a ritual. So then when it becomes a ritual in your day, then you actually take that moment to pause. Or you take that moment to, okay, how can I be silly or goofy or funny? Or like, I'll share 5 memes and then we'll talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, these are some of the things. So you might not have 30 minutes in the evening, but maybe you might have 5 minutes to just, talk about a meme and FaceTime your partner. And it doesn't have to be about all of the logistical things that make us in our dynamic roles, because it can get, lost in the sauce.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because anyone listening, it can be overwhelming. And just like anything health and wellness related, and the tips that you gave, 5 minutes, a conversation, being open, co-creating, it should feel empowering and expansive of, ooh, okay, I can do something that's going to make me feel a little better starting right now as you listen to this episode. I know we talked a little bit about chai, and I do want to dive into that because a lot of things going on. They can listen to the podcast, The Brave Table, to get more of you and have that become a ritual. Mm-hmm. They can also get the chai. So can you talk about the chai tonic and what you have created?
Yes. And I do want to say, just to close out that loop, for those who are like, yeah, but my partner, I don't know, he's going to think this is so weird. I just learned this from another podcast. What is going on? It's their invitation too. They don't have to say yes, and you get to start choosing. You get to start doing first for yourself and then see how that shows up with your partner, and then maybe later on they're like, oh, okay. All right. You've been doing this thing. All right, if you're calling me daddy, then hello, So I think in the beginning, you might have a little resistance if they're not used to seeing you in that light, and then automatically you're kind of switching it up. But don't lose hope because, it starts with us. That change starts with us, for us to be more soft, for us to, be more inviting in all of the ways. So with that, yes, I am actually drinking my chai tonics. So I founded my first, I guess you can say, CPG company, and it's called Chai Tonics. And literally, it was born out of these rituals. It was born out of this sense and this spaciousness of, I had just, launched my book. As you know, it was like my 4th book, and we were talking about it all on, that sucked, now what? And I had a lot of that sucked, now what moments, fully in my masculine. And I kid you not, I burnt out crisp like so many times. I was fully in my masculine, and I'm like, what are some of the things that I have been doing just as a ritual for myself? And I really took for granted my chai. And chai has been kind of, I don't know, it's just the thing that I do every single day without fail. It is my meditation. I know some girlies can meditate for an hour. I mean, I sometimes only have 5 minutes, and literally, getting all the things. And so when my kids were really small, I really practiced this art of pouring back to myself. So I would crush the herbs and I would add certain superfoods in. And so I actually created a superfood chai, adaptogenic chai. It has lots of amazing things, and it is rooted in Ayurveda. It's clean. It's 1 gram of sugar. It's vegan. It's, no artificial ingredients. It's made here in the U.S. All the ingredients are obviously sourced all over from India. But the one that really brings me back to life is, we have our Focus Flow Chai, which is what I'm drinking right now. And it's been really amazing for just mental clarity, focus, your energy in the morning. And it has lion's mane, Brahmi, as well as saffron, which is all great for focus.
Yeah.
Any ADHD mamas in the house, as well as energy and your vitality. But it also tastes like chai, so it has the herbs of ginger and cardamom and obviously saffron, but fennel and just a touch of cinnamon. I feel like most chais in the States taste like a big cinnamon bomb.
Yes.
No. I'm giving you the flavors of chai, and then I have this pink chai, which is called Rose Ritual, which is also steeped in Ayurveda, and it has rhodiola and ashwagandha and holy basil, which is great to help you during your reset in the middle of the day. It is pink. It's almost like a purplish pink, but it's just add water. All you have to do is just add water. You don't have to crush the herbs unless you want to. We say a ritual, and you're coming home to yourself. So you can actually get that at chaitonics.com. We have our ritual starter kit. So yeah.
Awesome. I love that you have something tangible we can use to force ourselves to slow down, because sometimes you need that. You're like, yep, I'm going to sit quietly tomorrow. No, I'm going to actually make a tea and it will force me to slow down. So I love that.
Yes. And you guys know how much I love cards. And so if you are able to grab one of these starter kits, they do come with a ritual intention card.
Oh, so love that.
It's a pause in your day.
Oh man. Neeta, you could talk about anything. I feel like I think it all starts back to like what you've been through in your life. Like you have really had to figure out how to be okay. I could cry thinking about what you've been through. And you've done so much work on yourself and in the world to help people also get through these things. And then I love when people create products that can help you like actually do this. And just so grateful for all the tips that you gave us today. And as you know, because you've been here before, we always wrap up our show with 3 segments. One is your 3 gold stars. So thinking about this feminine, masculine energy, if you could give people 3 tips to kind of incorporate this into their daily lives, what would you say for your 3 gold stars?
Oh, wow. Yes. Okay. So your 3 gold stars. First, don't make it a thing. Create a ritual. And it can be 5 minutes of your day, 2 minutes, 1 minute. Of just, basically, you can be in the shower, you can actually be driving, pick a song, pick a moment, put your hand over your heart. I always love that one, and give that gratitude to yourself. So that's number 1. Second gold star is just allow, practice the art of receiving, right? If that friend is texting you, hey, do you need help? Actually, yes, I would really love, can you grab me a cup of coffee or, that chai? I would so love that. Practice the art of receiving because that gets you into your feminine. And the third is, if you're trying to support that container with your person, maybe you want to call, them after 5, daddy, or whatever name comes to mind, but to allow for that polarity to exist because again, it starts with you.
Yeah. And everything you're saying, I'm hearing ease and allow, let it be easy, let it flow, peace,
As it should.
fun. Yes. Yeah, all of these things that we all want more of.
Yes. Playfulness is a big thing. Yes.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, next up, unleashing Ivy. So three more questions we're curious about. Mine would be, so you mentioned burnout and multiple times you've gone through it. What helped you the most tap back into that feminine energy to really being okay in your nervous system?
Yeah, so I started this company, as you guys know, Highest Self Institute. And so really helping other women because I'm very much a researcher archetype, as we were talking about before, and putting all these things that I was reading about, practicing for, I don't know, a decade plus, but now allowing people to be able to kind of have a certification where they're actually like, this was the thing that I wish I had to be more in my body, to be more embodied and, to actually live out my purpose. And so to see, I don't know, we've now have like over 1,000 graduates in the last 4 years across all 4 of our certifications that are, a lot of them don't really care to be a coach or anything like that, but it's more that personal individual work that helps. And they're just like you and I, where we were trained and ingrained to be in our masculine. And now it's this coming home, this reckoning of coming home back to ourselves, our nervous system, and really the embodiment one, because we're, sometimes we're so ashamed to express ourselves. And I'm not just talking about sexual, I'm talking about just like the sensuality of the slowness, the sensuality of what that looks like to play, to dance, to be your own muse, to even have a strawberry and just like eat it slowly to, essentially even turn yourself on. And I'm not even saying in a sexual way. I'm saying just even in a alive way, what makes you come alive? And I think for the longest time, I wasn't clear about that. And what really made me come alive was dancing, was playing, was laughing out loud, was, going to comedy clubs, was, watching playlists where, you're just having this big belly laugh to get me back into myself. And for everyone, it's different. And so I'm so glad that, some of these verticals that I've created allow, and you kind of then see other people having this huge transformation and change in their lives because of the fact that, they just turned on the switch.
I think too with burnout, it's like, it shows that you following somebody else's path and going that route will burn you out. Like the only thing that's going to turn you back on is exactly what you're saying, is like what brings you alive. Because I don't think you'll burn out if you're doing what makes you feel alive. If you can, I know that's tricky to incorporate that into your daily life, but if you kind of know those things, then you probably won't burn out if you're doing what's so fun and playful. And
Well, yes, but you're also baking that time in, because I think a lot of times we don't give ourselves the permission to pause, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing, is giving yourself the permission to pause in your day, to inject the fun, to inject the play, to inject the dance. And these are kind of all of the rituals and tools, that we have over at the Institute as well.
Awesome. I love that. Okay. My question, I've heard you talk about this on the Brave Table, and I want to talk more about it. So in one of your episodes, you talked about how like a truly healthy masculine energy in your partner will create a safe space for you to be truly in your feminine. And so what does that entail? Can you talk about what that entails for your male partner to encompass that safety for you, what that would look like so that you could tap more into your feminine?
So I think that first, it starts with even just having that conversation, and I think that a lot of times, whether you're in new relationships or even in relationships where you've been together for 10, 15 years or upwards of, 5 to 10 or 15 years, things can get stale, things can get mundane, things can get repeated. And maybe even you're kind of growing in separate ways, right? For a lot of you, you're listening to these podcasts and maybe your partner is a complete opposite. They don't believe any of it, or they're like, yeah. You always come home and listen to another podcast. Like, what do I have to do now? But having this sense of open communication, I think, is the first thing. A lot of times that's missing, because yes, we all want to feel safe around our partner, and even to convey, hey, this is what I'm noticing, right? This is what I'm needing right now. This is how I feel like I can show up differently, right? So the onus is on you. And I think a lot of times when we're trying to have these conversations, we're saying, the what is it? The three things you should never do in a relationship. And if you don't know these, maybe you want to write it down. But you definitely don't want to say, you never do this, right? You never pick up your socks, right? That is the epitome of just causing a rupture in the relationship, right? So always, never should not be in the vocabulary if we are trying to point out perhaps your needs and your desires, right? And they can say yes or no. Hey, love, I've noticed that every time that I'm trying to have a conversation with you, you're just constantly on your phone scrolling. It would mean so much to me to, find closeness with you and just find the time without the kids while they're sleeping to just have, our 30 minutes of catch up or playtime, whatever. Let's just put our phones away. Is that something that we can agree upon? Like, I miss you, right? It doesn't come off as that. It comes off as, well, you're always on the phone after 9 p.m. and I have to do the dishes, and so always and ever, right? And so and I think a lot of times we forget that there is this intimacy and the vulnerability of where we're coming from. And it can also be perceived as we just haven't been given the tools. And so we keep doing kind of the same kind of communication with our partner. And so the thing is with that, when we are sharing our needs, our desires, our wants, you're also giving them an opportunity to share their desires and needs and wants. Because if you're making a bid for connection, if you're making a bid for, I just want to be able to just surrender into your arms after a long day. And I feel like I don't have that because I feel like you're so busy on your laptop, or, I get it. You and I both have had long days, but sometimes I just want to lay my head on your shoulder. Is that okay? I miss you. I haven't seen you all day. The kids have had me, right? So that is a more clear ask and bid for connection versus what it can come off as is, making them feel guilty, right? Making them feel shame, but you're actually taking the ownership of this is what I need, and then this is what I'm craving, and this is and I just want to be close to you. Like how can that be a rejection, right? And so I think most women, we come from a place of it's this passive aggressiveness that comes up and or resentment. Like you're always going out with your friends, or oh, you're going out with that Matt again, or whatever, right? And so it's like, whoa. Instead of saying something like, honey, I really miss you. I feel like it's been a really long time since we've just had time between you and I. Is it possible that you can carve out, an hour and we can just go for a walk? So again, so that the first part is, can you actually convey your needs?
Yeah.
And that's the missing piece that I feel like most people, they don't have the courage, or they don't have the language, the communication tools to actually.
I like to, it like puts it on you of like the deeper meaning of what you're wanting. Like, yeah, the resentment can come out. You never, or I don't like, but it's like when you're getting back to, I want to create this space where I can be in my feminine with you and you can be the masculine that shows up for these things. And the ultimate goal is I just want connection with you. I want time with you. And I think when you start with that, it can be a lot more powerful.
Well, yeah, because then you're not going to, there's not going to be that defensiveness. Again, the masculine, if they're being attacked, they're going to defend. And that's anybody, right? They're going to defend their character. You're not saying anything about their character. You're just saying, hey, these are the things that I've noticed. Is everything okay? And I really miss you, and I feel like a lot of times we speak from our hurt as partners, in which, yes, okay, those things are valid, but also, it's also masked in anger and some other, upper level feelings instead of the underbelly of like, oh, okay, it's not the fact that you've been out twice the week or, on all of these business trips. It's just the fact that like we have been passing ships in the night for so long that, yeah, it's making me feel irritated. It's making me feel unloved. It's making me feel unseen. It's making me feel that we have no connection. It's making me feel, right? You're owning your emotional process. You're not emotionally dumping on the other person, because again, that will cause then, another rupture, sideways.
Yeah, I'm kind of hearing a soft delivery. Or the delivery of how you're sharing these things and how you're feeling and not having the blame, but that softness, that feminine energy of I'm needing, I want, but in a loving way.
Yeah, it's in a loving way. And I think that, their tonality is important. Tonality, as we know, I mean, lots of research around tonality, around delivery. And I mean, I know this too, and I can share this because my husband and I joke about it, but like I grew up in Chicago, very bold, sometimes abrasive. Like when I get super passionate about explaining something, I just get into my Chicago-ness. And, we're come from a lineage of very loud women in my family. And then I married my person who he comes from, the part of India where he's from, everyone's prim and proper, and they're from Rajasthan and Jaipur. And it's like kind of like very royal. The women don't even speak an octave higher. So you could tell there could be I know a thing or two about tonality, because I've had to learn a lot, even with my in-laws, of I'm thinking I'm saying something totally fine and how I would say it in English. And it's completely thought of as, disrespectful or just not. And so there's been a lot of work there. And for me, even to go into, the proper tonality, even at the workforce. And I even with some of my team members who are from certain places around the world, they're not used to the American tonality, like Chicago tonality of what I'm used to. And I've had to learn. So it's not even just, it's the delivery, but also in not even in your personal, most intimate relationships, but also how it can land for another person. And I know we can, debate this because some people would probably, disagree. But for the people that are closest to you, I think sometimes that loving way and that feminine way can go a long way. Yeah.
Neeta, last time we met, we always ask our guests, if you could go back and tell yourself something, and you answered that beautifully. And so the bonus question this time, I want to ask you, you just moved across the world, and I'm sure you're learning all kinds of things, but I think for our listeners, most people don't move their whole family, including children, across the world. And so I'm curious if you could either go back and tell yourself something before you moved. What would you tell yourself? Or like, what's the biggest thing you've learned since moving your family across the world?
Wow. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. We moved to Dubai and it has been wild, but you know what? I still feel like we're in between worlds, like we still have our, like, we're right here recording in our Texas home. So it's been a great dichotomy and it's been a great contrast, of the different worlds. And, what would I have told myself before we moved? I just kept saying that, yes, we want an adventure. And that was the adventure we said yes to. And, even being there now 6 months in, gosh, it has been such an adventure. And it's so fun, in so many ways. I feel like it's so diverse and you just learn so much. And I'm so surprised at how, like, I was so worried about how my kids were going to feel and like, are they going to miss all of their things? Cause this is the only place that they knew and, all this stuff. And it has enlightened their world so much. So for anybody who is craving an adventure with their family, don't hesitate. Like they're so resilient. And I think we had so much more concern about them, but they have been thriving in so many ways. And so for my kids to say, yeah, they've got friends from Japan and, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, just like, Lebanon, like everywhere, is pretty cool to know all these countries, at 6 and 4. Yeah, it's really cool.
It's amazing. Yeah. What an adventure.
It has been an adventure for sure. And that's literally become our motto every day. Okay. Now, so much so my 6-year-old is like, he wrote a book this summer as like a summer project, just very chill and he's been doing this since he was 4. So, but it's like a proper one. And so much so that he wrote the motto of the book is like, it's like Harold and Ari go on an adventure and he's this like dragon, that my son created. And so, yeah, so that's the motto. There you go.
I love that. And I love you. You are so inspiring. Just this conversation, you're talking about moving your family to Dubai, you're building companies, came out with a chai tea line, and you're still making time for the feminine energy. I believe you are successful because you are making the time for these things. You are walking the walk, and it's because of how much you pour into your cup that you keep elevating yourself and everyone around you. So thank you for the inspiration and your time today. We appreciate it so much.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, you guys. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Yes, this has been so fun. And as you know, we always wrap up our episode with a piece of gold, a quote that speaks to you. So would you send us off with your piece of gold?
I think I'm going to go back to that quote from Seneca today, which is, he who is everywhere is nowhere. So, choose wisely. And I think presence is the greatest gift that you can give yourself, the people around you, and, your kids, your loved ones, and even your partner.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold. We want to thank you and encourage you to celebrate yourself for taking the time to learn and get inspired in your one beautiful life. And if this podcast means something to you, it would mean so much to us if you'd be willing to take 30 seconds to help support our mission to keep bringing you inspiring stories and guests.
First, following the podcast is important because it helps you never miss an episode. To do this, just go to the Ivy Unleashed podcast show page on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click on follow.
While you're there, if you'd be so kind to give us a 5-star rating and review and share your favorite episode with a friend, we'd be so grateful for your support.
We are thrilled you're here and are so happy that you're taking time to prioritize your wellness, self-discovery, and growth with us. Additionally, we want to remind you that this podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We are not licensed therapists, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals.